Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 28th day of July, 2020. Well, we have a feeling of new beginnings today with the numerology, uh, letting everything come to rest. Perhaps we're going to find out a little more today, a little more information about something. But basically, the one is more about wholeness and unity and finding common ground. It's also about intuition. So, just let what you know sort of influence you today, what you know to be true. And if you've been struggling against that, if you've been trying to figure out, well, if your perceptions have not actually been matching what truth looks like for most people, then it might be time to try to find some alignment there. The whole notion of live in truth is I think, apropos for today. A lot of deception going on. And I think that it's all self-dealing kinds of things, where you have to ask yourself, well, when something doesn't make sense, it's like, well, why do they want that? Why do they need it to be that way when it just doesn't make sense? What are they trying to do? What benefit do they derive personally from something like that? So I think that's, if you keep that in mind going forward, I think that's probably going to be I think it's going to be the basic thread that's going to go through everything right now. It's just trying to discern the truth. And I know that people say that word discernment all the time. And sometimes I think they don't really even know what it means, or it sounds good, but then they forget to do it. So, when we have a one energy, it's really all about the catalyzation of something new. And given this is a Tuesday, little Mars energy to back that up. So anyhow, I just finished the Esoteric Influences, so if you want to check that out, it's uploading to YouTube right now. So when I get done with this, I'll go ahead and post it, and it'll be over there on the side panel of the blog, just like this will be when I'm done with it and upload it. So, and if you see it around on other social media, that's because I put it there. Anyhow, it'll go up on Instagram, and it won't go up. This one won't go up on the Pinterest business page, though, which you can put video up if you have a business account. You can do video. You can't. I guess you can't otherwise, but other than links to stuff, I guess. I've always done that. But then suddenly it's like, oh yeah, if you have a business account, you can do video, but you have to have it under 15 minutes. And so I watch my counter on Esoteric Influences so that I can make sure that I can at least get it over there too. And sometimes there's just no way to do that. There's too much to talk about. So, but whenever I can, you'll see them in both places, both Instagram and on Pinterest. At least for the Esoteric Influences, not for this one though. This one's just too long, too much to talk about, too much to do. Interpreting cards, interpreting a rune, interpreting a geomancy rune. So it takes time, to go through all of it and link it all together. So anyway, because that's what we do here. We're complex. Anyhow, if it's your first time here, welcome. I appreciate you coming by. And if you're back, thank you so much for coming back and spending this time with me and with all of us, actually. And again, if you have comments or questions, put them down in the comment section there underneath the video that when you watch this thing, and we can get a conversation going about it. So anyhow, if this is your first time here, I'm going to take 3 cards. I'm going to take them randomly, so I'll do the 13th card each time. I will add more if we need it. Otherwise, I'll move on to a rune from the Elder Futhark bag, and then we'll close out with a geomancy rune. So let's go ahead and take our first 3 cards. Well, we start with the Emperor. One of my least favorite cards. As you know, if you've been here before, let's see, I'm going to move this back a little bit so I've got a little more room here to lay my cards down. I was picking raspberries yesterday, so my hands are killing me. Who knew? that well, you have to use such precision so you don't crush them when you're grabbing at them. So, I have no other excuse. I don't even know. Here we have the two of swords, so decision made dispassionately today, objectively. It's hard to do when emotions are high, just to remain objective and just take a step back. That's kind of been the theme of the month with the 7 energy for the month. We're moving into an 8, though, next month, where it's going to be a higher level of well, it's more universal consciousness oriented, so it's a type of spiritual warrior energy. But right now, we're taking stock, basically. We're letting things settle out, trying to figure out what the actual truth of things really are. You know, lots of things are being imposed on us right now. If you are protesting, then you know what's going on out there. With respect to the virus, they expect you to send your kids back to school. Yeah, I don't know. If I had children of school age, I mean, I would be homeschooling them, but because that's what we did. But well, we started out in public school, but after a point, we pulled them out. But you know, I don't understand what they're doing. It makes no sense to think that they're not carriers, to have the Secretary of Education erroneously say and negligently say that they're stoppers of the infection. No, they're not. No. We're not depending upon it. What's going to happen, you see, when the worst happens? And this is what she said. And policy got created because of it. Just who are some of these people in this administration that think this way? Who are they? What's wrong with them? I literally cannot do that fast. Oh my goodness. And I have to pick more raspberries today. I like to do it every other day if I can, but right now in this heat, I don't have a choice. They're ripening so fast. I have to get them before they just go bad on me. So it's really, and the patch is massive. Here we have the 5 of Cups. Yeah, we've got some grief going on. All right. So I want to look here on the 5 of Cups just to be certain of something. Yeah, okay. I'm going to put the King in the middle, the Emperor in the middle, and let's talk about issues of authority here, because I think that we've got. And then I'm going to put the 5 of Cups first, and then the 2 of Swords last. So we're going to talk about the issues imposed, I think, by unrestrained authority. Particularly on this Tuesday, we have Mars energy, and so we have a lot of it in this card. We have an Emperor. I've got a glare going across, so I'm just kind of look at these in sections so that you can see it up close. You see he's not looking you in the eye. He holds a sunflower in his receptive hand and his scepter in his projective hand, his hand of power. That's where he derives his power and vitality. You see ram's heads adorning all 4 sides up at the top and also on the front of the armrests as well. So you've got the 4 represented there. But you're talking about, when you talk about the number 4, you're talking about foundation and structure. And so his structure and foundation is based upon authority and power. But there's no room for subtlety with the sky. It's all orange. You see that? Oranges and reds. You've got the gold crown. And he's been at it a long time. You can see by the white hair and the white beard. But there really is no room for anything other than power with this man. So now, as long as that power is expressed benevolently and with an 8 type of energy, but you see he's not there yet. He's at the beginning of it. If the Emperor were an 8, we might see a very different fellow. Instead, with the 8, we see the card of strength, and we see the goddess with her hands around the open mouth of a lion, where she's taming the wild within. Perfect love, perfect trust, the whole wild unknown aspect of self. bringing that into alignment. That takes a level of strength that this man is not capable of. The notion of notion of universal consciousness does not enter his mind. The only thing that enters his mind is his own perception. There's no other color on the card other than the white, and that just denotes that he's been at it a long time because he's old. So his effect is long lasting. All right, either going forward or what has been. Now, even if you're likening this to what we're dealing with right now, in terms of federal government, his effect may only be for almost 4 years, but it doesn't matter. The impact of his effect has been massive on people. Even if all you're looking at is how he's chosen to deal with or not deal with the virus that we're experiencing. Instead, he just wants to tell everybody how great everything is, how beautiful everything is. Something's wrong. There's something wrong with this guy. Right now, we're dealing with issues of loss and grief. 3 cups are overturned, their contents spilled on the ground. There's castle and all of that off in the distance there across the river. You see an arched bridge that takes you across from one side to the other. 2 cups are behind him. They're upright. They could have something in it, but we don't know that. His head is bowed. The card expresses change. 5 is about change. Change in structure, change in safety, change in protection. 5 is also about that as well. But he's very caught up in his own space, his own. I mean, it's almost like a pity party, but not. It's the energy of where you're so self-absorbed with the grief that you're experiencing that you can't see anything else. So overwhelming grief. The 4 of Cups would be more the pity party, where you don't see what's really being offered to you. You're so caught up in your own space, in your defensive posture. There he's got the guy has got his back up against the tree, and he's got his arms crossed and his legs crossed. But here, this feels like something got away from him, something out of his own control. Whereas with the 4, he has a little more control over that moment. He just chooses not to have it. But here, some profound change has occurred. But it's overwhelming grief. Now, there's a lot of things going on right now that are harm related, whether you're talking about the effect of the pandemic on our personal lives, and not from the standpoint of our health, but from the standpoint of what's happened in terms of our work. If we can't stay employed because the businesses can't remain open. There's no way to do it safely, maybe, or they don't have the money to retrofit the business, and so the business has to close. And now you have the federal government that one party does not understand the bigger picture here, or if they do, they don't care. And so they're not wanting to give people continued unemployment from the federal level to try to keep people. See, here's the thing: you stimulate the economy this way. They're not sitting on the money getting rich. I mean, it's like these people don't know what it takes to run a household. Nobody asked for this pandemic. This is one of these moments where you have to suspend whatever, perception you have over government aid and just understand this is how we have to do things for a little while. And had we all gotten into masks right away, likely things would be a whole lot calmer right now. And things would be back to some semblance of normal. We would still need to be concerned about this, clearly. But now look at, because we didn't, we know a whole lot of what happens when, you survive it. Because not everybody truly survives this. They're having issues after the fact. So we're learning about that. And so there's going to have to be so much that we have to learn, though, and try to scramble to get it all put together into some cohesive idea so that we know what to do going forward. But that has not taken place on the federal level where it needed to, so that we could all be on the same page in dealing with this horrible thing that's happening. Because again, it's not just health, it's everything about our everyday lives has been affected by this. So, the grief, the profound grief, maybe losing someone in your family to the virus, maybe losing someone in your family to police violence, maybe the loss of democracy in this country. Who knows what the grief is about, but it's profound because the effect of whatever's happened is profound. So a decision is going to have to be made, one that's dispassionate. The waters behind her are not particularly calm because they're not smooth as glass. You see some choppiness there. But she has to turn her back to all the challenges you also see in the water by the rocks. There's a line of demarcation again in this card where this is this, that was then, and this is now. So we're having to deal with something. We're in the beginning phases of some kind of decision because you see the maiden moon in the sky. Two can be about polarity and balance, but it also has to do with decisions. Cause and effect. And if we look at it in terms of cause and effect, you can see cause and effect. The emperor has behaved in a way that has not helped the situation. It's harmed the situation. It has incited more harm to occur. Okay? So here she has to cross her arms in front of her, bringing the swords in balance. The blindfold across her eyes because she doesn't want to be influenced by anyone. She's wearing a white robe and also a white band around her eyes because she wants purity to come in. She wants higher self to come in and inform her decision. She doesn't want ego to be in play at all when she makes her decision about what's happening. People are tired of dealing with what we've been dealing with, and it's understandable. Again, most of it's predicated upon the fact that we did not come together. It was not made clear from the get-go back in January or February that we needed to come together immediately on this. It was the only way that, especially in a country our size, because you're always going to have the more urban areas where the population is more dense, the cities, in other words, urban means cities, densely populated areas where industry and businesses and in amongst all with homes surrounding that's considered, and then the homes would be the suburban, out away from the more centralized city, where business takes place. But then from that you have farmland, you have areas where there's not that many people, and so those are known as rural areas, and so eventually it'll hit the rural areas. And how does that happen? Because people travel from the more densely populated areas to there, either interstate commerce or within the state commerce, or simply people coming and going about the state. They have family. They go. Here this is a tourist area where I live, and so basically. You're going to have people coming from out of state, from within the state here, and it affects things. Now, we have relatively low numbers here, but they're increasing. Why? It's because it's summer. In fact, I guess the city of Bend has asked that people suspend all travel into their city. I don't know if they're talking about our city and the surrounding little towns, but if I were them, I would be. If you can at all avoid going there, please. They've asked for people to avoid going there until after Labor Day, because they need time for these businesses to stay afloat and to try to contain who all's going in them and making sure everybody's masked up and all of that so that people are safe. So the city of Bend has taken that measure, and my husband and I, we have zero reason to go to Bend right now. So we will also obey that, and we won't go. We'll just stay out of there and let them deal with what they're dealing with, and because that's only going to trickle down to us here. You see what I mean? how we deal with this trickles down everywhere. It spreads everywhere. If we can contain it, the last thing we don't want is for someone to come in and mess that up. So that's what we're having to contend with. So that's a decision that they've had to make going forward that maybe isn't something that, it's going to affect the tourist part of the industry here, right? It's going to. But in order that we have it going forward, we have to do something, right? We can't just say, come one, come all, and bring whatever, your asymptomatic self into our area. That's what they're doing. So it's a hard decision, but, one born of grief over and loss, basically, over what we've lost so far here, not willing to lose any more. I don't know that sentiment is being shared by any of the other towns. I haven't heard. I've just heard about Bend. The governor came out and said, hey, guys, please listen to what they want. Please respect it, and just don't anybody go there until after Labor Day, or until they tell you that you can, basically, because it may extend after that. They're trying to get the schools open, I guess, which is nuts, but I think they're going to find that there's just no way to do it. So I don't know, not to do it safely. So I think that we'll still see distance learning here, and we need to. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. But that's the kind of decision that we're having to make now, based on irresponsible action by the leader in charge. We're having to cope with things now and scramble to try to figure out how we're going to deal with all the kids going back, which is not safe for them to do. Had we behaved like other countries that figured this out early, everybody wore masks, they got rid of it. They've been able to manage it. They focused their money on taking care of making sure the kids could go back to school, making sure businesses could stay open safely. They had the unified commitment by the people who live there. You see, that's the whole thing, and that's what this guy can't do. This guy's about separation and division and maintaining his own power, not about what's happening to us collectively. So that's the decision. It's got to be made dispassionately, without listening to whatever threats. It's like schools and localities are going to say, well, if we don't open, we're going to lose federal funding and we need it. See, it's a combination of federal and state dollars that keeps these places open. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, you can't be influenced by that. And that's the dispassionate side of the Two of Swords here. Let's do one more card, see if we can get a little bit more information, and then we'll move on to the rune. But you understand the dynamic here, at least, of having authority do things that then cause tremendous loss and tremendous grief, and then somehow or another we got to make a decision in the middle of it, right? And we've got to do it in a way that's not influenced by emotion. So we're going to take stock of what we have. The Seven of Pentacles. I always say this is my husband when he's out in the field irrigating. He'll just stand there, lean on his shovel, think, look around. But that's what he's doing. It's a farmer who's raked up all of his stuff. It's like when my husband goes out there and gazes at the pile of hay that we just brought in. Well, it's not a pile, it's a stack of hay bales, but you know what I mean. One year, we raked the whole thing. Yes, I will never do that again. I woke up at 4:30 in the morning screaming. My arms were cramping so badly. We literally, we cut the field. We have a what do you call it? Not the disc kind, but just the regular type of hay blade, the typical flat hay blade that sticks out to the side, and yeah, anyway, that's what we have. We don't have a baler. We didn't have a rake. And so this was back when we first moved here in the 80s. It's like, no, never doing that again. Never doing that again. But we had to pile, we had to loose pitch it. And that's what this is, in a sense. But the harvest is in and we're going to take stock. And here, we're taking stock of what we've lost and what we got to do to protect ourselves going forward. There's also a loss of dignity in all of this. When you have people that, there was another video out yesterday of some older lady who literally was coming up and coughing on people, and it was disgusting. It was disgusting. Where is the dignity there? But you see, they believe the emperor here. And this disregard and disrespect shown to others, you know, people are losing their jobs. They're being arrested. You know, you can't try to harm people. What if the woman doesn't realize she's sick? What if a week from now she ends up, you know, in the hospital on a ventilator, and by coughing on whoever she coughed on has done the same for someone else? What then? But depending upon the decision that we make, we have a level of fortuna. Oh, I'm sorry. I haven't done the Elder Futhark rune, and I started to do the geomancy rune. Well, I'm not going to tell you what that is. I'll wait. Let's see what the rune is for today first, though, before I get ahead of myself. I'll use. I think I'll use is the 15th, is it? Yep. 15th rune of the Elder Futhark. So a 6 energy, higher self energy. It is the equivalent of the elk. It's about protection. It also represents the sedge, the type of grass. You know when you'll see all kinds of different, whether it's you not so much maybe deer, although maybe, but usually you'll see moose out in these marshy areas, or elk, or what have you, or caribou. Sometimes you see caribou out there, but usually you'll see the big lumbering moose and the big lumbering elk out in these marshy areas, and it's all this grassy stuff that's everywhere. That's called elk sedge. I don't know if there could be something in particular that's called elk sedge, but that whole kind of marshy environment, grassy environment, it helps to hide them. You know, it makes it kind of look like their horns, or maybe just some brush or something that's out there. And so when they get out there, they find lots to eat, and at the same time, there's protection within it. And so this kind of looks like that, the elk of an antler, or the elk sedge that they hide behind or within. But basically, you're looking at air, fire, and water above, and earth below. It can also be raising your arms in supplication to spirit, but it's also drawing down spirit into form, and basically the Bifrost bridge between spirit and form. It's that connection. And so the decision then that we want to make today really needs to be at the expense of ego. Likely this guy's ego. Again, ask yourself why things are happening the way they are today. Who benefits? Because there are people who are. Irrespective of the horrible things that are happening, there are people that are actually benefiting from it. And you need to think about it. It's devious, it's deceptive, it's dishonest, it's criminal in some ways, very likely. And so you have to be very careful. And you have to make your own, you have to keep your own counsel, and you have to make your own decisions, and it must come from spirit in a way the shape mirrors it, doesn't it? Look at that. With and what I find most interesting about this too, especially in terms of what's going on, especially in terms of today being a one energy, is the maiden moon up above. New beginnings, new potential for something better to happen. That's based on higher self-awareness instead of, ego driving the whole thing. And that's where, coming back and taking stock and letting things settle out in the 7 month. We could think of this as a 7 month, and we could think of Alyes as the 22 energy in terms of the cosmic builder and profound change that's soul based. that's invoked by soul and not by ego. Let me see where my piece of paper is. There it is. Since I've already gone ahead and done the geomancy rune, it is Fortuna Major, so greater fortune. I think that when we talk about making America great again, America's always been a work in progress. What that statement is not about making us better, but about returning us to a time where segregation and division and racism was, fueling everything, where white power was all that was invoked and everything else, was secondary, if there at all. That does not make us great again. It returns us to a patriarchal time of the 50s and the 40s, and we had a lot of turmoil in the 60s to bring light to all of this, and the establishment of social programs and all of that to try to right the ship, basically, and bring balance and respect and dignity to how we live in this country. Elevating society as a whole versus one group over and at the expense of another. Well, now, when you see Make America Great Again, what it turns out that was a return to that oppressive state. And to get away from all of the idea that we're all one, or that we should all be elevating one another, and all of that. It's to return to that type of ignorant type of awareness and perception that was oppressive and created systematic racism throughout this country. Those that don't want to see this truth take hold, where we are one and we are, we have to stay together on everything, right? Otherwise, people are harmed in the process, and we see that now. It's happening. Every day, whether you're looking at what's happening at the protests, all the video there, or just video of people around doing things, and police interactions with people, and what that looks like. It's all getting on tape now. And this hidden agenda of keeping all of this quiet, truth is being brought to the power now. And no one's shutting up about it. So we see this momentum, but we also see the pushback from the people that want that type of experience in our lives. Well, no one else does. And there's more of us than there are of them. And in that is our Fortuna Major. There is our great fortune. It's in the understanding of shared purpose. If you look at this in terms of the rune itself, if you watch the Foundations in Magic, the Geomancy, the 3-part series I did over there, if you haven't, check it out. You'll understand a little more about this. But we've got passive influences for, this is arranged in the order of fire, air, water, and earth, okay? And so a dual dot is 2 dots equals a passive influence. A single dot indicates an active influence. And so one could say then, here we are with fire and air as passive. We could say that we are coming into alignment with one another. Think Vaya is all single dots, Populus is all dual dots, and Vaya is a single direction, and Populus could indicate the crowd or going in lockstep with one another. So we're in lockstep in terms of will and intellect. And from there, we can then manifest in terms of emotion and the emotional bond we have with one another, and then manifest a better future forward, better foundation. But it takes coming into harmony with will and intellect, understanding what's at stake, and then manifesting a different way forward. And in this case, creating Fortuna Major or great fortune. So our greatest fortune is together. That's how we make America great again, is to be unified, not separate. Not having people support a regime that is all about, just increasing their own bottom line personally. That's what this is all about. The haves and the have-nots are going to be so defined after this. The majority will be the have-nots, you see, in this regime's rendition of all of this. Because it was a lie. He wasn't going to make anything for you better, just for him and his friends. That's all. So again, if this isn't about the collective situation we're dealing with, and I don't know how it couldn't be, if you've got some issues of authority of your own, understand that you have to see the bigger picture. Otherwise, you're capable of creating such loss for people. And people at some point are going to have to make a decision about you and just how much power they give you or how much power they're going to take back. And in this regard, I think that, at least for this country, it was never meant to be this way. It was never meant to have some king. That's why we fought the War of Independence. That's why we fought the Civil War. One of the reasons, anyway, to say no more. You can't enslave people. It's this weird power dynamic that just when you get it established of a great way forward, all of a sudden people who want power and authority and control over all of this say, oh, no, we're going to ignore that, and now we're here, and we're going to do it our way. Well, that never works out. Does it? It never does. You always end up with some guy who runs amok and thinks it's all about him. Just read his tweets, you'll see. If you can stomach it. Anyway, that's all I got for today. Thanks so much for watching. Again, check out the Esoteric Influences. They go up on the blog just like this will, and they'll go up over on Pinterest. I'm sure they've finished uploading here, so I can go ahead and publish them after I'm done here. And then I'll watch this and do the same to that. And at some point, the Esoteric Influences on the blog will go up, the hard copy of it. And remember, it's a little bit more elaborate than what we're doing here. Also, if you want to sign up for the newsletter, that gets you the Esoteric Influences in your inbox. And then you see the whole thing all at once, although the human design stuff is more... I get more in detail in the video and then also on the hard copy for the blog. That also gets cross-published over there at Mediums. If you want to check it out over there, you can do that too. The correspondences and astrological information will also go up on the blog, so look for that as well. And if you're into work and magic, what I do there is the first half of it is just from the astrology for the day, from my astrological software, its current outlook. Planetary placements and energetic stuff and all of that for that moment, for noon actually, because I always cast it for noon each day. But the lower part of it are the magical correspondences for the particular day itself. So if you need to just check in real quick on, okay, what stones, what crystals can I use, or what incense works for today, or whatever, or what hour of time frame is going to work best, you can go down there and see it there. It's just a quick reference guide is all it is. So in any event, that'll be up as well. And I guess that's it. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks so much for coming by. And I hope you click subscribe. I'd love you to come back and share this time with us. I just do the somewhat daily tarot and rune 4 days a week, but the esoteric stuff goes up every day. So subscribe to the YouTube channel and you'll see all of it. So anyway, thanks again, you guys. Have a wonderful day. Stay as safe as you can when you go out. Wear a mask always, 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 and be good to yourself. Be good to one another. And blessed be.